Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 207, and today we're going to be playing Vayne PNZ. And so, the main kind of flavor that you typically see with Vayne is the big OTK style, right? You see Vayne with Rumble attacking a bunch of times, closes out the game. Jax is very good at closing out the game. Varus is very good at closing out the game. And you can kind of lump Zed into that group as well, to where these are all champions to where if you're just attacking with them multiple times in the same turn, if you're getting a bunch of attacks with the tumbles, they're going to be able to close that game out very quickly. And if your opponent doesn't have an answer to that singular unit, you've probably got it in the bag, right? But that single unit aspect is kind of the scary point, right? If your opponent now looks to play towards the flash freezes, or if they look to start playing towards homecomings or whatever, if they're able to deal with your singular unit that you've just invested everything into, you've probably lost the game, right? And so it's a very high rolly kind of aspect to playing these OTK style Vayne decks. But what if we want to say, hey, I like Vayne. She generates a card. That's always good. That card lets us cheat a little bit since it can put equipment from our hand onto the board. That's pretty cool. And maybe we can pull off some other synergies with that as well. And that's where you start to land with the P and Z kind of flavored archetypes of this. And so the big equipment that we're looking to tie everything into here is going to be the Darkened Harp. And this does a multitude of things, right? I know everyone from back in the Expedition days loves a good quick attack challenge, and that's still quite good here. And so we have a handful of birds that we can load up with the Darkened Harp, give them quick attack challenge attacks. And so Valor is the big one if we're getting quick attack challenges twice with Valor. It's quite good. It's quite good with Fleet Feather Tracker, Petricite Broadwing, the Blood Cursed Harpy as well. Lots of really great targets to hit on the Darkened Harp. And so that's like piece number one of the equation, right? If we have these tumbles, it is kind of nice to tumble a unit and have it not die. A great way to have that unit not die is using the Darkened Harp, to a lesser degree, the Darkened Aegis. And so, right, that's piece number one. We got all these good challengers. The challengers like a good equipment. We have a great way to get the equipment onto the board with the likes of tumbles. That's a nice set of synergies number one. Synergy set number two is going to be through the usage of scouts, right? We've pieced this together in many different deck archetypes here. You can attack on your opponent's attack token with a scout unit, and then you get the attack token back. But hey, I didn't start with an attack token bust. How do I attack on my opponent's turn, right? Well, that's where Vayne's tumbles come in. Cards like Cataclysm come in. We don't necessarily have to just use the Golden Aegis for that rally, right? So if it's an opposing player's turn, we Cataclysm off one of our scout units, be it the Valor, the Blood Cursed Harpy, or the Quinn. That will count as a scout attack. The game says, hey, you're making a scout attack with just scout units, you should get the attack token back, right? And so we have this another really nice collection of synergies between Vayne and the Tumbles and Cataclysms tied together with all of these scout units. And so it's a nice way to, kind of tie it all together, get a good collection of synergies going. We're not going to be, real big OTK monsters styles with this deck. We're just going to be playing a more value-based game plan. And so before we take off, we do have the big value monsters in the Piltover, Castaway, and Combat Cook. I think everyone at this point is familiar with how great the equipment are and how much value they add to your deck over the course of the game. Fish Fight has turned to be one of the just absolute best removal spells in the game. Very glad to have it in our deck. And then last but not least, we have the nice combat trick in the Sharp Sight. And so, it's a pairing that was always historically terrible, right? You didn't want to be playing your Fioras with P and Z because the combat tricks just didn't exist, and if you Mystic Shot a unit, that just doesn't really play in with a Fiora. But the addition of the Darkened Harp and then a good value unit in the Forge Chief give us a really nice complement to all the strong and powerful Demacia things you can be doing these days. And so that's who we're going to be doing battle with today. Let's go ahead and head on in. I checked if we paid the pay-to-win price on this one, and we're good. Excuse me, we're locked in. You can just pretty much every Demacia deck, as soon as we pull it up, that pay-to-win price has been paid. And so I'm on board. I'm ready to go. All right, off to battle with Ezreal Seraphine. I was curious if today was a patch day. I was getting like really excited. I'm ready for the balance patch to hit, and then I was like, oh fuck, it's only been a week, and so I'm curious to see what comes up in terms of the balance patch that we'll be seeing here soon. I'm pretty hyped for it. If you're, just hanging out, you don't want to spend too much time in Constructed, but you're still a daily listener. I have finished my my playthrough of the Path of Champions with Teemo. That's what we've been doing over on the old ftpbus.com site, is converting it all over to the Path of Champions, and it was a pretty fun run. I did every single adventure with Teemo from start to finish, beginning to end, and had a really good time with it. And so, if you want something a little bit different, that's going on there as well. But alright, on to the game at hand. Opponent just dropped Ezreal. I assume that he's going to want to pop off this Mystic Shot on one of our units. It looks like it's just going to be lined up at the Forge Chief now. I picked up the Piltover Castaway with the Pot of Pain, since that should give us a way to just survive the Ezreal. He goes after the Broadwing. This should be a bit of Ezreal protection for opponent, but I think I'm still okay with how that turned out. Now we're going to have to start making a little bit bigger decisions in how we want this game to go. I worry just like a little bit that we need to like win this game on our next attack token, right? This Ezreal is not super scary, but I'm looking at this and it's like, well, we need to end fast. And so I'm going to try and set up a board to where we can get a good golden Aegis next turn. And then hopefully between the Aegis and then the Blood-Cursed Harpy on the follow-up turn, we'll be in a good space to get the win. Now here we could look to be a little bit aggressive and maybe Petricite Broadwing and the Ezreal, then try to hook him next turn with the Fleet Feather Tracker. It's not super interested in it. It's just a little bit too slow for my taste. Now the question is, do we want to bring the Pot of Pain in on the Broadwing, or do we want to wait and save it for the Harpy? I'm kind of leaning on just waiting. Let's see. Let's see. I think that's well and good. Ooh, Condemn. So you can still just pay a shitload of mana to cast a Condemn on Ezreal if you want. I don't think that's what we're going to do here, but you've got the option. So let's do this. Let's bring in the Tracker. We'll see what he does. Then we can drop a golden Aegis, and then we can play a Piltover Castaway after the fact so we don't lose out on any mana. Seems like opponent kind of wanted to play a removal spell there, but they pulled it back. I think this is fine. Just going to Golden Aegis, the weaker unit here. It's like, if he's going to be dropping removal spells, I prefer him to just be popping off the weaker one. I'm really interested in attacking with the Tracker, not so much the Broadwing. Ha! You took the bait. I didn't scare you with that, did I? You didn't get scared? You're okay? Alright, nice collection of big booms on board here, though. I dig it. Pots a boiling. And so now opponent's either just going to have to get straight nugged for 10, or he's going to have to put the Ezreal down in front of the Forge Chief if he wants to take the value block. I'm completely fine with that. Looks like he has a spell. Not too worried about the spells. Mystic Shot's completely fine. So look at that. You can say, Bust, you got a pretty nice looking board there. Is it the best board I've ever seen? No. But does it look nice? Absolutely. Alright, Bird. Time to do your thing. Got him. GG. So talking to the lands of real life, I don't like to bring political things to the channel, right? There's plenty of places to go and get your political fix for wherever you live. I really don't care how you do that or whatnot, but I did go and vote today. I think that's a very important thing to go and do. If you like how things are going, go and vote for those people. If you don't like how things are going, go vote for different people. Like this, the kind of sentiment that I see and understand and feel is there's a lot of I'm trying to think of the right word. It's like disgust isn't the right word, but I guess displeasure would kind of fit in that. You know, if at least in the United States, if you take a peek at the general collective of, come on, I think we're good now. But no, if you look at the general collective of politicians, it tends to be old. They're in their 50s or their 60s. They're almost all predominantly white, and they're almost all predominantly men. And so, if you're wanting to say, hey, it would be cool if there were more women out here, it would be cool if there were more young people out here, it'd be cool if there were more not white people out here, then, you know, you got to get out there and you got to do the vote. I know that there's a lot of also kind of disgust in saying that your vote doesn't matter. And it's like, well, you do have to get that collection of people out there to make it feel like it's worth pursuing you, right? If the sentiment amongst the young folks is that my vote doesn't matter, so I'm not going to bother, then nobody's going to try to cater to you, right? You're kind of worthless in the sense of the political game. And so even if it just means showing up and gathering a few percentage points for the people that are important to you, it's kind of a growing trend of things that you can help push towards into the future. And so that's the extent of my my political space, my political rant. You know, if you want positive change to what you think is positive, if you want people to cater to your feelings and your needs, then you gotta play the game and get out there and vote. The last piece of that goes to it is, as I was there, you know, I call myself a boomer on here because in the lands of video gaming, I'm pretty fucking old, right? Once your age starts with a 3, you're getting there, and then when that 30s age gets closer to the 40s age than the you know, you're closer to 40 than 30, you're certainly up in the boomer era. But and you know, all things real and all things said, there was probably like 50 or 60 people there voting, and there was maybe one other person into my actually a millennial age. And so, you know, those old people, they get out there and fucking vote. You know, what else can you say about it? They're certainly out there and doing it. So that's why you see so many fucking old people in the politicians. All right, we can be done with that for now, though. On to greater things to bitch about, right? Fuck politics, right? We would rather just bitch about Ezreal and Seraphine. And so up against Ezreal, Seraphine again. This is reasonably fine. We didn't completely lose our board. It would have been nice to get this quick attack challenge and have everything accounted for here, but he did have a removal spell for us. Alright, not a ton we can do about Ezreal. Still just got to come in and add the combat cook on board, and I'm going to pick an equipment that allows our dude to survive the onslaught of Mystic Shots. And so Pot of Pain, kind of a go-to choice here. I think that's the safer option. Then with this, I'm okay if he sends the equipment back to our hand. It's a strong one to now come over and equip back to our Petricite Broadwing. And then, of course, next turn we're going to look to have this scout attack from the Blood-Cursed Harpy. I'm going to load up the Harpy with the Darkened Harp, not necessarily the Pot of Pain, but I would like to swing the Pot of Pain back down to our Broadwing. Sure. Combat trick number 1 was successful. Let's see how this piece goes. Could have looked to put the thing onto our Fleet Feather Tracker, right? It doesn't have damage. You can't kill the bird with Scorched Earth, or you can't kill our undamaged bird with Scorched Earth and whatnot, but if we make it out of this turn, then the Broadwing's going to be quite ready for battle. A little scary. He's going to have a removal spell up his sleeve here, right? You don't just equip the Ezreal and not have the Mystic Shot back, but I'm still okay with this. It gets him weaker. We can potentially take him down a little bit easier in the future, and then he's having to spend his his resources on a unit we don't really care about at this point. So I'm okay with that. It's like we gotta say, do we want to just go ahead and condemn though? I think it's okay. Like we don't have a ton going on in our hand, and so if we just say open attack next turn with the bird and then drop the Castaway and the Aegeus, that seems reasonable. He goes bar. Okay. It's like we're one rally away from doing some really impressive things. Oh, Quinn turned up.
Nothing gets between me and my mark.
Let's do some more bird shit, am I right? Do a second bar? Kinda nasty. Kinda nasty. Gotta have some big time booms going down this turn.
Calm mind and open heart greet the night. Just like hunting treasure.
Alright, a little worried seeing an invoke hit. He can certainly cause some real chaos with that the next turn from now, but we do have a lethal on the board, and so he's going to have to get a ample set of units happening here. A little bit short of the lethal with the Feyfolk down. We can get enough damage this way with the Castaway, though.
Rather be sailors, but this looks fun too.
I don't think that matters, right? We can come in. There's a 15. Now we can hook the Feyfolk way down to the right. Needs another removal spell here. Definitely a lot to worry about, right? I mean, he's got all of his cards costing -2. But we had enough to achieve victory. GG. Mark it a W for Bust. You say, God, Bust, after that victory, I'd love for you to talk more about politics. Load me up. Pour it upon me. Tell me what you feel about all the social and economic issues of the day. I'd love to tell you my opinions on everything, but there's a place and a time for each thing. The time and the place here is for some mediocre to slightly above average Legends of Runeterra gameplay. Great life advice, you know, if you want to learn how to get soap suds coming out of your dishwasher. I got you covered there. And then a little bit of minor movie review. Speaking of movie review, it's been a while. I don't think I talked about this one. We can get political with this one if that's what we're wanting to do. And so the way the movie scene works here in the old Bust household is I still have a Netflix account, and you're saying, Bust, everybody has a Netflix account. And I say, slow your horses, friend. I have the one to where they will physically send you DVDs. And so the way that we typically handle it is we'll get a pick for old Bust. That's usually in the comedy section. We'll get a pick for the kiddo, and then a pick for the wife, which is typically a selection in the land of romantic comedies. And so I've kind of like made my way through the entirety of the romantic comedy list that she's interested in seeing. It's kind of like the late 90s, mid to early 2000s romantic comedy kind of thing. If it was like released during the time of Bridget Jones' Diary, it was probably a real hit. And so I'm really kind of like scraping the bottom of the barrel in terms of finding good rom-coms to continue to get for the wife. And so I saw one pop up called She's the Man. If you're not familiar with this, this is a movie with Amanda Byrne, Amanda something, and everyone's favorite in, we can't get tough, but no, everyone's favorite man in Channing Tatum. And so I thought that this was going to be, just judging by the title, a girl that wants to get with a guy, but she needs to change her gender, right? And then the big reveal at the end of the day is going to be that like the girl's actually a dude or the dude's actually a girl, and it's, you know, going to be some kind of commentary in that terms. This movie was released way too early, right? Maybe if it was released this year, that would be the plot. But this was actually just Amanda, what's her name, looking to play soccer, right? She's on. They're taking away the soccer team at her high school. In order to play, she has to go to a different high school, play on the men's team, and apparently they won't let a girl try out for the men's team, and so she has to. What are we doing here? She has to dress up as her brother so that she'll be accepted on the men's team. Show everyone how great she is at soccer, and then at the end of the day say, "Gotcha, actually a female." And so, yeah, it wasn't quite what I was expecting. I thought this was going to be like the real transgender piece of the decade, and it was not. But I was just thought it was gonna also just be like super cringy in terms of how they handled the humor and the thoughts and the plot lines of the day, and they actually managed to navigate that pretty well too. And so this, at least, it wasn't like one of the movies of my childhood to where it's like there's a movie you loved when you were like 8 or 10 or 12 or whatever, and you watched it 100 times, and then you get older and watch it again and you're like, that shit was fucking racist. You know, I don't think people will be holding that complaint with it, but that's what I was expecting it to be. All right, opponent's getting stuff on the board. That's fine. I mean, he lost away one of his swains, or not his swains. He mulliganed away a Leviathan, or tossed away a Leviathan. So he's kind of limited on the things he can be bringing at us here. We're going to potentially get boomed by a Ravenous Flock, but that doesn't quite appear to be the case now. Can we just take 8? Like, the thing that happens when I look at this board, it's like, well, I've got a lot of good equipment in my hand, and I don't want to just be, like, losing our dudes unnecessarily. And so, like, once these equipment are gone, we don't have a lot left that we can do on the board. And so I think we can take this hit. If he has a Swain, we should be able to deal with Swain with combat damage and the Condemn. If he has the Leviathan, that's a little bit harsher for us, but I think these equipment are going to be key here. Now as we just draw Harpy. I don't think I'm quite ready to just go Harpy. Alright, Bird, let's clear out this board. F. That makes life a little bit more challenging. Well, I think we're kind of shut down for now, but the bonus is he only has 1 card in hand still, and so his attacks are all pretty terrible here. We can just get built up into the next turn, will be pretty good. Leviathan was my worry. It's like, it's reasonable enough to deal with Swain, right? Because we have the removal, we could put damage on him. Just the Leviathan is a problem because it then draws Swain, and now we have to deal with 100 fucking cards. Okay. Okay. I don't think we can win the game on our next turn, which is kind of pivotal giving this board. Okay. Oh shit, we're just dead to this. Oops. GG. We'll find Wumbo Gumbo here. I'm not going to give you any more Bustle famous movie reviews. Get out of here. World famous movie reviews, courtesy of FTP Plus. It's tough, man. I know my dad, he loved 2 movies. He loved Revenge of the Nerds and he loved Caddyshack. And it's like I can't quite remember with Caddyshack. I haven't seen it in like 10 years, but I do know with Revenge of the Nerds they go deep in a lot of the ways that are just like, how was this ever okay? How is this okay with you? It's just like wildly racist at many different points of the movie. It's it's wildly. I don't quite think that they were homophobic towards Lamar. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't care, whatever. But I can clearly admit that just the wildly flamboyantly gay stereotype coming from Lamar was certainly there. And then, of course, the nice rape scene at the end of the movie. Just I don't know. That was one that was like so publicly beloved and cherished that they made like 4 sequels to it, and nobody ever sat around and said, "Oh, this is kind of fucked up." Like I don't know. I don't know how that works out. It's like I feel like if you're gonna be playing like the like wildly racist Asian part, they're racist towards the Asians. The Asian guy's not the racist one. Like he you know. It's tough. I know that like at some point you just want to go and get a paycheck and advance your career, but like at some point are you also just going to be like, oh man, you know this is kind of fucked up what you're doing to me, and so I don't know. We'll get too political again if we go down this road, but that movie is rough. The movies in my childhood tend to have held up, though. That was just because you have, like, the. Well, I guess that's the. It's odd, right? The one that just came to mind was striking me because the ones that were big for me were there were the. This is not an awesome board here. Like we lose this combat frequently. I'm fine if we come in here and just kill the thing. I guess it's okay if we have to trade a sharp sight into it. It's not completely ideal. But no, when I was a kid, it was like you would wake up on Saturday morning, you would turn on the TV, you would fire up the TBS, and then TBS was always, without fail, either showing one of the Star Wars movies or they were showing Indiana Jones. But they did mix a few other gems in there. One of my favorites was it's a great movie about arm wrestling. It's called Over the Top, starring Sylvester Stallone. That one, holds a warm and cherishing place in my heart. It's a really fucking strange movie if you ever want to go and watch that one. the one that was coming to mind that probably doesn't quite hold up is Bloodsport. And if you're wanting to drop a Kimute out there for me, I certainly feel you. But the kind of premise of Bloodsport makes sense. It's very Street Fighter in nature, as to where you have a fighting competition to where they bring the best fighters of the world together, and then one of those fighters being Jean-Claude Van Damme. I can't remember if he was like an FBI guy and he was doing it as an investigation. And it's like, oh, we got to investigate the fight. Turns out I'm fighting here as well. I don't entirely remember how that worked, but Jean-Claude Van Damme is the key. And then since you have a fighter from each nation of the world, each of those fighters should also just be stereotypically what that country does. And so there's just a lot of choices were made in that movie. You could say that perhaps not the most accepting of all cultures. All right. We can leave it at that. This one's not going that great. The Saga Seeker is going to be a real pain to deal with. We might be able to start making a play with the Blood Cursed Harpy after this turn, but we kind of need the tracker to die to get the equipment back. It's just slightly awkward here.
I will end their cyclical war.
Not even I know what I'm cooking up.
All right, well, I'm happy enough to block this Saga Seeker. It doesn't have Overwhelm. We need to get a bunch of damage on it anyways. And if we can get that bunch of damage in here with the Combat Cook or something, I think that's all well and good. Let's see how this goes. You might be done playing cards at this point. Like, we have the Fish Fight. We could have looked to Fish Fight the other Saga Seeker, but I don't think he really wants to attack with it. Swift ally strikes. Oh, there it is. Okay. I was like, where'd my equipment go? I thought it was gone for good. It's back. It's back. Ooh, a Darkened Harp. Okay. You're big enough to survive this combat now with the Saga Seeker. I don't have high expectations for it. I feel like if we attack into this and he blocks with the Saga Seeker, he's probably going to have the tricks required to survive it, but if we can take it down secondarily with the Fleet Feather Tracker, that'll be quite good. And then we have to be making a scout attack this game, or this turn, I should say, since we want the Quinn to be generating a Quinn Bird. Alright, let's see how good this Pantheon is. He messes with our plans a little bit. Cool, he hit Lifesteal. At least he didn't hit Elusive in that collective, I guess. Do we want to just swap this out now? Like, if we're going to lose an equipment, do we want to lose the Darkened Harp or do we want to lose the Fish Whack? Because, like, the Fish Whack at least punches in 4 damage now. And I guess the big thing with it is it lets our bird survive against Pantheon. Now, he is capable of just putting a combat reel or a spell back down on his Pantheon. But if he doesn't do anything and this guy gets to survive, that's a pretty big win. Gotta have something go right here, though. Sure. Okay, so these friends are coming in. These friends are coming in. Quinn Bird is gonna hook the strong one. That'll be the Saga Seeker. That's fine. Put the most damage onto Pantheon we can. That's fine as well. Let's see what we can do here. This is a pretty terrible spot, though. Oh, we should... Well, yeah, we should have hooked Pantheon down to the left. He's going to gain a bunch of extra health now, right? We should have him just gaining 2 up to 20 and then dealing damage down the board. But we did not handle that with grace. See what we can do from here on out, though. Cam 4. Sure. Alright. You're good. You got it. GG.
Demacia does not forget, and neither do I.
Alright, next battle. Oh, come on. Are we doing this again? Somebody call the intern, tell him the game's fucked up. That does remind me of a bit of the hot topics in the game right now. With Worlds coming up, I don't know what specifically happened at Riot. Right, something has happened as to where they were supposed to make like the Worlds announcement for like the player points and who actually qualified like a week and a half ago. And then they were late with it, and then they changed some of the rules, and some of the stuff looks kind of weird. And I understand the frustration from the people that are, actively involved in Worlds and actively participating, that small group of 150, 200 people, whatever it is. But I can tell you exactly what happened. This is something that you understand once you get to boomer age, that you may not quite understand if you're a college ager, as most of these Worlds competitors are. In that, here's what I can almost assure you happened in terms of Worlds. And so last year, there was like a dude that was in charge of it, and he had a team of like 1.5 to where there was like another guy and an intern, right? And so they put it all together. They did a good job, maybe. They left documentation on how to do it again next year, maybe. Otherwise, it was probably just all kind of like slapped together. And so then as, time passes, whoever that lead guy was left Riot. He works at Facebook or something now. That intern didn't get hired on at Riot. He works for AT&T or something now. Good job. I'm glad you got a promotion and a good deal. And then that last person that was still there was probably on vacation or something. And now it's like, as Worlds rolls around, you know, they're sitting there in their big meeting and someone's like, feels like we forgot to do something. And so then, you know, they start to dig around and they're like, oh shit, we got to get this together fast. And then, so it's like Ruben, Zoo, and friends get together. They start trying to piece together, oh shit, we don't have an attack token? Oh fuck. I was telling my Riot story and realized we can't attack here. But Ruben, Zoo, and friends get together and they're like, oh man, we have to piece together this document. And they finally do it. They meet their deadline. They're ready to hit the send button on the screen. And then somebody's like, you know, you got to send that to legal, right? And they're like, what? And they're like, oh man, you know, that's dealing with like international shit and money's involved. Yeah, you got to send that to legal and they got to review it. And that's going to take like a week. And then they're like, oh fuck, this has been ruined. And right, it's exactly stuff like that. And so people tend to come together and piece together like wild ideas and philosophies and thoughts on why it completely went wrong and where it failed and everything. It's not some kind of mastermind issue of people trying to fuck over that one guy in that one country and try to take away his invite. It's very lowest common denominator type things to where these fail. And so, you know, hopefully they can do better next year, but it's worth noting that the FTP bust scenario is the most likely reason why that kind of thing happens. Somebody went on vacation, somebody missed their Outlook reminder, somebody used to work at the company and now they don't work there anymore. It's a very common kind of sequence of events that happens in the adult world of the adult world of being employed that leads to these kind of problems happening. And it sucks that it happens, but it does. All right, well, we'll see if we can recover out of this one. I was telling my stories. We wasted that sharp sight. I was looking to sharp sight down the Crackshot Corsair, like with a scout attack, and then hook something else down afterwards. And then I kind of failed to realize that we weren't exactly in combat there, and so little whoopsies from old Bust. We'll see if we can recover. We're not in a bad spot here, right? We survived the onslaught. He's down to 2 small units. We have a card in hand with a dude on board, but you know, anything kind of goes with this matchup. He's still free to add the combat reel down, but you know, let's see what happens.
Nothing gets between me and my mark.
And a Vayne. All right, well, we should be in a pretty good spot now. Let's go ahead and start making these attacks. We'll follow up with Vayne. Don't have any equipment, which is kind of awkward, but we're looking fairly strong here. Sure. Okay.
Those who kill innocents are no more than fiends.
And we have the mana now to just go ahead and start tumbling stuff, and so not a lot of big worries about what's happening here. So we'll get this this scout or this Quinn attack in, and then there's no reason to not tumble, right? Next turn we can play literally every single card in our deck and still be able to tumble. So let's actually send the Vayne in though. I think I would prefer to have Quinn undamaged in case we just like need to block a big overwhelm. That she's safe and ready with all of her health. But we talked about this play earlier, right? You tumble the scout, counts as a scout attack, and then unfortunately for opponent, this is going to be a Quinn flip, which sends a Valor into his Crackshot Corsair. Should be a GG. Got him. Alright, next battle.
A sentinel's work is never done.
So that big scenario, it reminded me a situation I was in a while ago as to where like, I went to college and stuff, got a job after college, worked in the private industry for 5 or 6 years, I don't know. And then I went to graduate school. And one of the professors that I worked with a lot, he did a lot of stuff with the state government. And so to help keep the government up and current with technology and integrating technology into what they were doing and the current technological landscape and how things are changing compared to, 5-10 years ago to now to 5-10 years in the future and trying to be prepared for all of it. That was, kind of his thing. And so he worked with the state government a lot. Whenever, job positions would open up, they would ask him, they would say, hey, do you have any students that aren't morons? And he would say, yeah, I got a couple students that aren't morons. Here they are if you're interested in hiring them. And so that's how I got a job working with the state government for a little bit. And so the thing that was kind of coming out of that is like you go there and it's like a deadline's kind of approaching and you're like, hey boss, this, it's not due for a week, but I can probably finish this like 30 minutes of post 5 o'clock working. And they're like, absolutely not. You do not work beyond, you do not work beyond 5 p.m. any day ever. You don't work 1 second of overtime. You don't come in on a weekend. You don't do anything late. Your emails are gone. And I'm like, this is not what I'm used to. This is not, this is not how it works in the private industry. And they're like, well, welcome to the fucking government. So that was what I was like kind of thinking in the back of my head when I saw that the world stuff got delayed. It was like I got my time with the states and work it over. Absolutely not. That's not on the agenda today. So what happens if there's a deadline and we miss it? Okay. What? Oh, that shit was mind-blowing. Who cares? It's late. This is government. Welcome to the government. I was always pretty good about getting stuff done on time, so don't worry about me. I wasn't the reason you were waiting forever at the DMV, but that shit was wild. Don't work over. Don't work late. Don't do overtime. Email's done. Get that out of here.
You got nothing I can't handle.
All right. Back to the action, though. This is all reasonably fine. And we can still take down the jacks. Oh, we can't take down the jacks. This is less reasonably fine. Still want to keep attacking, though, I think. Let's see, have quick attack. Combat reel. Let's take down the quick attack. Like, we're not in a really good spot to be blocking here. Good look to tumble, but I don't think I'm super amped about it. So what's his angle? Who's he gonna hook here? Just probably Vayne. He only has 1 mana, so we might have to worry about a catch, but I think I'm gonna choose not to. And go ahead and get Quinn on the board. See if we can't get a tumble and another attack after opponent does whatever he wants to do here. Rip Vayne. Jack should be flipping here, right? Yeah, we're not blocking any of that. Get that nonsense out of here. I mean, I guess we could, if we wanted to get our combat, our Darkened Harp back in our hands, so then we could put the harp onto Valor or onto Quinn. Like, now that I think about this more, where I think the angle is going is let's put the harp back in, and then next turn we're gonna be making harpy attacks.
Who's next? Bring it on!
Oh. Yeah, kitty's wanting to hang out too. Here you go. He said, "What up, world? What up, internet? I'm a black kitty and I survived Halloween." He said there were no witch-related incidents on Halloween. I've survived it all. We're kitties. Uh-oh, how bad's this gonna be? He's not supposed to be interacting with us, so probably gonna be like a fish fight onto Quinn. It's crazy to me. My understanding of the life of these kitties, or nobody gave any love to the all black kitties because they were bad luck. The witches had them. It was a terrible world for the all black kitties, the voids, if you will. And then they kind of survived a little bit after that. They had a resurgence, and then Instagram came out, and nobody wants an all black kitty because they don't take good pictures to put on Instagram. And so, poor guys. It's something like the adoption rates of all black cats has dropped dramatically, just because you want to take cat pictures and put it on the internet, and the cat pictures of them don't show up well. Sad day. Sad gay. This cat, I mean, he's dumb as shit, but he's a delightful little fella. That's why people shouldn't want him. It's because he's just fucking dumb. Here's how smart this cat is, okay? Here's his move. Here's his thing. And so you go to bed at night, and if you leave the door open, right? We tend to have to leave the door open because these dumb shits want to go back and forth. And so if you leave it shut, they're kind of locked in. They want to go eat. They want to go take a poop. They can't do it. So we leave the door open. So this guy, this one here, the dumb one that shows up in the videos, he will get on the other side of the door, like swat a little toy mouse to the other side, swat it back and forth, until he shuts the door, and then he'll start bitching that the door is shut and start clawing at the door until you open it. And just basically rinse and repeat. And so you get up, you open the door. He's like, "Oh, cool, found my mouse toy, gonna start playing with it again." Swats it around, eventually shuts the door, and then starts freaking out because the door's shut. It's like, you dumb animal. You figure out the sequence here, please. You figure it out, dum-dum. I don't really believe in you. I don't feel like you really got it in you to figure it out, but it would be really sweet if you could. But delightful guy, nicest of kitties. All right, on to this next turn. We'll see what we can pull off. We have a technical 7 mana if we're going to take the Attune off of the Castaway. So what I'm hoping we can do is drop a Castaway. Going to, again, pick the Pot of Pain. So he's a little bit protected from the damage-based removal. Then I'm hoping opponent spends mana on stuff that doesn't matter. And then we can get a Blinding Assault plus a Darkened Harp to come in and take down Ezreal. Looks like we're almost on track with that. He did play a spell, pull it back, and then drop the Arachnoid Sentry. And so I'm hoping his card in hand is a Ravenous Flock and not a Blade's Edge. Cool. Looks all well and good. Hey guy, you want to see your board get wrecked? That's what's about to happen. That's what's about to happen. Cool. So we'll see. We got the tumble in hand. If he, spends a bunch of mana again, plays a fan club president or whatever, we can pull off the tumble. Let's just go ahead and go for it now. I don't need to pick an equipment. Hang on. Pick you. Done. And then we'll have the Sharp Sight mana here if we need it. If we're going to lead off with the Piltover Castaway, then we're not going to be able to do everything. LOL. Alright, get that attack token back. Ah, he's got the flock again. That was going to be such a crusher, such a soul-crushing move if we were able to pull off everything there. Come in for 14 damage this round. Alright. May not completely have this one yet. But, same deal as before. We can drop this Castaway. Want to pick the one to where we're kind of Mystic Shot proof. I'm going to go with the Shepherd's Authority out of this. And then we can go with the Blinding Assault, Darkened Harp. A little bit scarier now, right? He has access to more mana, but I'm on board with it if it works. I guess the question is, do we ever just want to go for the Sharp Sight instead of the Harp? Because it feels like we're gonna get popped with a Mystic Shot, but if we're gonna go for the Sharp Sight, we have a little bit more in terms of options there. What up, Quinn?
Nothing gets between me and my mark.
All right, we'll see how opponent responds. I don't want to put down any equipment right now. I would prefer to be able to go into the next turn with this mana banked up so that we can use the Sharp Sight. I'm a little worried about what's about to hit since he's just dropping the removal spells right out of hand. But we'll see. That was a very odd sequence to put the damage onto Quinn and then throw a Valor thing over here. Or Blade's Edge onto Valor. Okay, seems fine. Did life just change now that we picked up Vayne? I don't think so. We can still add the Big Bro. And then on the following turn, we can still play Vayne and tumble Striatu. So I think we're safe. Alrighty, Drum Solo's a removal spell. Brings in Seraphine. He's only got 2 cards in hand plus the new random one. Famous Last Words, that's all he's got. That's all he's got, Famous Last Words, but let's see how this goes.
Jack said there'd be contenders out here.
Free Condemn, pretty cool. Can't drop the Combat Cook, but it's okay. Uh-oh. He thought of something and pulled it back. Is he just going to re-Seraphine us? Like, I didn't want him to have, random slow spells to just get doubled up.
Demons walk among us, masquerading as men.
Yo, dog, I heard you like Darkened Harps. So I tumble a harp onto your harp so you can harp while you harp? Is that what's supposed to happen here? Disintegrate, sure. Alright, in with the Pan of Pain. I could see an argument here to pick up a... to pick up that Overwhelm, but I don't think we're going to struggle with just like a single unit here. I think we're going to be able to pull down the width. Alright, cool. GG. Coming into that final battle. I think we hit all the topics today. Political stuff, racist movies, She's the Man, things from your childhood, the hot drama at Riot, the way things actually work once you're in a professional work environment. I think we hit it all. The old TF Swain, not the misfortune this time. Here's a bird. A little scary. You expect a lot of make it rain style cards to come out of this deck, so our units aren't. It's not super advisable to just drop these units with 1 health and not have a way to protect them. And so the Darken Harp fails a little bit in that sense, right? If we're wanting to get these quick attack challenges, that's pretty good and awesome, but it doesn't leave anything defensive back to protect against the spells. I think we're probably fairly safe, though. Oh, shit. We didn't hook his Watchful Idol. Oops. I was just thinking about it. I was like, oh, this guy can't do combat. But I think we're okay. Just have to wait and see what he says about Fiora.
They would fall by my blade.
It's a little sloppy. It would be cool if he only had a 1/1 tentacle, but, you know, it's talking and stuff. Talking and stuff. Ugh. And Steve comes in. I mean, this is just like we're gonna just get Ravenous Flocked, right? I think it's okay. It's like I don't want to get overly invested in this Fiora now, but
For the honor of House Laurent. Strike quickly, strike deftly.
it's like if we spend this 2 mana, she's gonna get hurt. Let's at least put it on the weaker unit. Yep, I was gonna say I feel pretty okay about him not having the Make It Rains, though. That would have been like a really weird sequence from opponent for them to not block the Petricide Broadwing on the previous turn and have Make It Rain in hand, right? The Ravenous Flock here makes a lot of sense, and so I think we managed that one well. We're recovering from our whoopsies of not attacking that tentacle thing, and see if we can't turn it around a little bit. And in these spots, you typically want to keep Steve on the board, right? Old Twisted Fate, his big and powerful thing are the cards. So I would rather opponent have a pick a card in hand instead of having access to additional Twisted Fate style things. Now here, gonna pick up the quick attack. As opponent comes out and plays cards like, as they play cards like Disintegrate, Ravenous Flock, and everything, I would prefer our attacks at them don't put damage on our units. And so I'm going to bring in the Blinding Assault now. We're going to load it up with the Darken Harp. We're going to try and make some of these quick attack challenges. So we'll see if opponent's going to drop a removal spell on us. Got a little bit of protection in the Sharp Sight, but not guaranteed. Try to do your thing, though, bird. I don't think you're long for this world, but we're going to try. We're going to try. Thinking hard on it. Thinking long. It says I want to drop my Swain, but I don't have enough mana for the spells after that. Swain should be flipped at this point, right? Yeah. Sure. Big decision right there. That was certainly a tough one to decide on. All right, not looking so hot from this side of the board.
You're looking at Ionia's cookie chef 10 times running.
Not looking so hot.
Here, fishy fishy. Demons walk among
Hey, Vayne, do stuff.
raiding as men.
I believe in you. Alright, see if we can get Zap out of here. We got not awesome blockers right now, but we can block, I guess. It's better than dying. What's Twisted Fate at? 5? We're gonna have to give him a little more credit than I was hoping to. He's still got to do a bit of work in terms like his card draw should be pretty limited here. He can't have Eye of Nagakaboros, but it's like if we don't really pop off on this next turn, we're just dead anyways. And so I'm not ultimately worried about him flipping right now. See what kind of sweet removal spell he's got for Vayne, and then we could just go ahead and concede. Old pro game eats here. Bringing in those reproductive juices. Showering it everywhere. Is that right? Is that what game eats are? Something to do with reproductive stuff. Been too long since I was in high school. It's been too long. Alright, well, let's see where we can get here. We really need this Quinn Bird with quick attack to work. If it works, we got a shot. If it doesn't work, this game's going to be done. But there's no other, like, really positive things happening here, right? We can, say, play the Darkened Aegis and use it as a somewhat slightly safer way to come in and hook Twisted Fate, but if that fails, we lost the game anyways. And so I think we want to just go for the really big, high-powered version of the way of trying to end this game. Right, this way is still good if he says, like, plays the Leviathan right here. Right, as to where if we add the Darkened Aegis, we're kind of limited in what we can do. Hi, bird. You dead? Uh-oh. Discard stuff. At least out of mana at this point. Steve gets the flip, but can't play any more cards this turn. Is that where we want to be? I think so. He wants to take the time to, like, put Scout on onto a different unit. I think it's okay. The thing I think we maybe should have done is load up Quinn with the equipment and then having attacked with Quinn, and I think that might have got us in a little bit better spot. Interesting. But this does open us up now for a little bit better tumble play. Since the Quinn can attack without worrying about dying. All right, well, this will look pretty decent if he's like doing all this stuff and then he's just going to add Swain to the board. It's going to open up our Condemn and let us have a lot of opportunity. Let's see what happens. Right, if we get to attack with everybody, Valor, blue card. Okay. Well, Gwen will still flip regardless of who attacks, right? So it's like we can attack with Vayne, that'll pull in a Quinn Bird. Quinn Bird's gonna hook the Leviathan. I think that's good enough for now. Well, I mean, he's got so little mana at this point. I think the question is going to be, are we going to Golden Aegis this turn as well? Which I'm not entirely opposed to. Well, she has to be attacking to summon Valor. Okay. So let's just go with Vayne, and then I'm going to play Golden Aegis after.
No one escapes my aim.
Guess we could have attacked with Quinn. I was just too worried about Quinn dying. But now that I realized she was going to get the bonus health, it may have worked out a little bit better. Let's see. Let's see what opponent's answer is here. He's got a Nox and Fervor. Then the red card does the rest of the taking down. That's a pretty brutal red card. I think we just have to be okay with this. Like, I don't think we're going to make it if the Leviathan gets to stick around. I mean, maybe Twisted Fate was the answer on that spot, but... We still got a lot of pretty good options here. I don't remember how much health the Leviathan had. I had 3, right? He's a 7 health. We hit it for 4 with Quinn. Should have had 3 left.
Scouting ahead. It's our time to shine, Valor.
What? We got one of those things everybody loves called having a lethal on board, and so we can see if that's enough. Do we want to put the Aegis onto Quinn now? See, have that be our way to get in 1 point of damage. Okay, this should have her be back to full health next turn, so we can't hit her with oh, I guess she normally has 6. Fine. I thought if we could get her out of damage range, then we wouldn't have to worry about like a Scorched Earth coming in. Alright, well, oh, he's gonna have all the cards. It goes blue, red, then gold, right? So he should need another card after this to... Oh no, he can just block. And the guillotine. Ugh, gross. Alright. Well, maybe we should have taken down Steve. I think that would have... I was ultimately just worried that if the...
And neither do I.
If the Leviathan got to attack and do the damage and stuff, we would have been in trouble. I don't like how we played that one at the end. I think we probably could have pulled that one off if we'd structured and ordered our units a little bit differently. But nonetheless, you know, pretty solid deck. I, of course, love a nice Demacia deck. I love playing with all the challengers. Vayne is, of course, one of the top things you can be doing in this format. And I think this is all around pretty powerful. It's nice to take kind of a step away from that full-on OTK mode. And move more towards this kind of value-based thing. And so I don't know if like the numbers in here are all perfect. I really like all the equip units. I really liked the equipment. I could see cutting like 1 equipment. I could see cutting 1 Darken Aegis. I'm never like super impressed with it. But these spots that you run into to where you have 0 equipment in hand and you're trying to work with the Blood-Cursed Harpy and stuff are a little bit awkward. And so... might be worth the full 6. I'd have to play a few more games of these to kind of figure it out and find out. But otherwise, you know, pretty happy with all this stuff. I love the synergies between the quick attacks and all the challengers. I love the synergies with the quick attacks and the free attacks. I love the synergies with the free attacks and the scouts. There's a lot of really nice and strong things happening here that, while all on their own, probably aren't enough to get like really excited about, right? We've played Cataclysm and scout decks before, but I think like the total package really kind of sneaks up on you and is really quite strong. It's a lot of what Action does, right? Action doesn't seem that impressive right at the start. It's that culmination of everything that he does across a game that really gets absurd. I feel like that's what we're getting getting out of a lot of the interactions that we saw here. But nonetheless, I recommend it. It gets the FTP Bus seal of approval. If you want to go to battle with it, take it in best of 3, that's great. Grind the ladder with it, that's great too. It seems to be a pretty strong and good deck. And so, that is going to do it for us today. Hope everyone enjoyed the video. Hope you maybe learned a thing or two along the way and had a good time watching. This is Bust, and we thank you for being here.